There is a moment in the trading journey that almost no one tells you about. Not the day you double your account, not the long winning streak that makes you excited, not the top-tier trade that makes you take screenshots and show everyone, but a very small shift, very quiet, almost invisible. You still sit in front of the chart like every other day, still place trades, still have wins and losses. On the outside, nothing special, but on the inside, the person who is trading has changed. No more panic when price moves against you. No more racing heartbeat just because of one violent candle. No more feeling that I have to enter something right now or I'll miss the opportunity of my life. And if you look closely, you will realize you are not much richer yet, but you are completely different from the version who used to blow accounts. That is when a truly profitable trader is being formed. Not loud, not flashy, no applause, but extremely real. Because profitable trading does not start with money. It starts with how you react when money fluctuates. And if you are experiencing the following signs, chances are you have crossed a line that most traders never get past. Sign 1. You are no longer obsessed with every single trade. Before, each trade felt like a verdict. Winning trade arrow, you felt skilled. Losing trade arrow, you felt stupid. One candle that swallowed your stop loss could ruin your entire day. One beautiful take profit could keep you floating all evening. Your emotions were tied tightly to every small outcome. You were not trading the market. You were trading your self-worth. But when you start becoming a truly profitable trader, the first thing that changes is this. A trade is just a trade. It is no longer proof that you are good or bad. No longer a measure of your personal value. No longer the thing that decides your mood tonight. You look at a losing trade and think, according to plan. Cost of doing business. You look at a winning trade and think, according to the system, nothing special. It sounds cold, but that is maturity. Because sustainable profit only appears when you stop treating each trade like a World Cup final. You begin to think in sequences, 10 trades, 50 trades, 100 trades. You understand that your edge does not show in one trade. It only reveals itself when repeated long enough. And this creates a huge psychological shift. You no longer need this trade to win. You just need to execute correctly. The moment you no longer need the market to prove you right, you become calm enough to actually be right more often. Sign 2. You fear breaking discipline more than losing money. Most new traders have only one fear, fear of loss. They move their stop loss. They hold losing trades. They add more positions to average down. They refuse to cut because maybe it will come back, all just to avoid the pain of seeing negative numbers. But the paradox is, trying to avoid one small loss leads them to huge losses. When you start getting closer to the state of a profitable trader, a reversal happens in your mind. You still do not like losing money, but you begin to fear something else more, becoming the out-of-control version of yourself. You fear the feeling of breaking rules. Fear that moment when you know you are wrong, but still do it. Fear sitting down to review your history and clearly seeing how you shot yourself in the foot. A planned losing trade no longer keeps you awake at night, but a winning trade that came from breaking discipline makes you uncomfortable. Because deep down, you understand. Money earned through indiscipline is toxic money. It rewards bad behavior. It teaches your brain that reckless sometimes still survives. And sooner or later, you will repeat that behavior with bigger size until the market takes everything back. Truly profitable traders are not proud of risky lucky wins. They are only truly satisfied when they did the right thing no matter the result. That is when your identity shifts from someone trying to make money from the market to someone protecting their system from themselves. Sign 3. You no longer trade to escape emotions. There is a truth very few people admit. Many trades are opened not because the setup is beautiful, but because the trader feels uncomfortable. Sad arrow, open charts. Bored arrow, enter trades. Stressed arrow, look for a comeback opportunity. Feeling useless arrow, need a winning trade to feel still valuable. Trading becomes emotional painkiller. Each mouse click is like a small dose of dopamine, helping you temporarily forget emptiness, anxiety, or dissatisfaction in life. But the price you pay is your account. When you are becoming a profitable trader, your relationship with trading completely changes. You no longer use trading to run away from emotions. You can feel sad and not open a trade. You can feel bored and still wait for a setup. You can argue with someone and decide not to trade today. You begin to understand something extremely important. Your emotional state matters more than market signals, because a good system in the hands of a chaotic mind still creates losses, but a stable mind can sometimes save you even from bad signals. Profitable traders are not people who are always calm. They are simply honest enough to say, "Today I am not in the right state to make decisions with money," and they close the chart. Not because they are weak, but because they are strong enough not to prove anything that day. Sign 4. You start to appreciate boredom in trading. When you first entered the market, you were attracted to drama, violent candles, big news, crazy volatility, fast action movie-style entries. You thought good trading meant fast reflexes, decisiveness, daring to catch moves. But the longer you stay, the more you realize an ironic truth. Sustainable money comes from extremely boring actions. Wait for the right zone. Wait for enough conditions. Enter with correct size. Place stop loss in the right place. Do nothing more. No strong emotions, no drama, no stories to tell. Only repetition. Repetition. And repetition. When you start feeling comfortable with that monotony, that is a huge sign you are getting closer to profit stability. Because the market rewards consistency, not excitement. Losing traders seek feelings. Profitable traders seek process. And process is always boring to the immature, but extremely beautiful to those who understand. Today's boredom is the financial freedom of a few years later. Sign 5. You start thinking in probabilities instead of hope. In the past, every time you entered a trade, you carried a story. If this runs, big profit. This setup looks like that one time I won big. This news will make gold fly. You were not really trading probabilities. You were trading belief and hope. Hope the market would be kind. Hope this time would be different. Hope your feeling was right. But hope is not a statistical edge. When you begin becoming a profitable trader, the language in your head changes. You no longer ask, "Will this trade win?" You ask, "Is this trade according to the system? Is the R to R reasonable? If this pattern repeats 100 times, do I have an edge?" You accept beforehand that this trade might lose. Not pessimism, reality. You understand that any single trade is just a random event in a long series, and your job is not to predict each event, but to make sure that over a long enough series, the equity curve goes up. The moment you no longer need to be right on each trade, you become objective enough to truly trade like someone with an edge. Hope makes you enter too early. Probability makes you patient. Hope makes you hold losses. Probability makes you cut losses. Hope makes you overtrade. Probability makes you know when to stay out. And this transition is not loud. It is just very small self-talk in your head, but it completely changes how you make decisions with real money. Sign 6. You no longer need trading to feel smart. There is an extremely dangerous psychological trap many traders do not realize. They do not just trade for money, they trade to feed their ego. A winning trade is not just profit, it is proof they are intelligent. A correct analysis is not just skill, it is something that makes them feel superior. And when ego gets involved in trading, everything starts to distort. You hold losing trades too long because you do not want to be wrong. You refuse to cut because you fear admitting your read was wrong. You hold to prove the market wrong and you right. But the market does not care about your ego. When you gradually become a profitable trader, trading is no longer where you seek self-worth. You can be wrong and not feel stupid. You can get stopped out and not feel inferior. You can miss a big move and not beat yourself up all day, because you no longer attach your identity to each trading decision. Trading is just a probability game you play with discipline, not a test of your human value. And this brings huge psychological freedom. You no longer need to win to feel okay with yourself, because you are already okay, even before opening the chart. It sounds unrelated to profit, but only when you stop trading to feed your ego do you start making purely logical, system-based decisions. And that is where sustainable profit truly begins. Sign 7. You start protecting your energy like you protect capital. New traders think capital is just money in the account. Mature traders understand capital is also focus. alertness, emotional stability, mental energy. You realize that after a stressful day, arguments, lack of sleep, your brain is no longer in the ideal state to make money decisions. And you start doing something very strange that you never did before. You choose not to trade, even when there is a setup, because you understand that a correct decision in a wrong state can still be executed the wrong way. You start paying attention to, did I sleep enough? Am I angry at someone? Am I too excited after a winning streak? You understand that psychological state can distort how you see the chart. A tired person sees opportunities everywhere. An overexcited person sees risk as not a big deal. Profitable traders do not just manage risk in the market. They manage their inner state before entering the market. They know some of the most profitable days are the days they did not trade, because they protected the most important capital, themselves. Sign 8. You no longer search for the perfect strategy. Before, every losing streak made you doubt the entire system. You jump from one method to another, add indicators, remove indicators, change time frames, change markets. You thought somewhere out there was a secret strategy that would stop losses forever. But when you begin touching stability, you realize a slightly painful truth. No system avoids losing streaks. No method wins in every market condition. And the biggest problem before was not in the strategy, but in how you executed it. You start focusing less on finding something new, and more on doing very well what you already have. You optimize entries, trade management, journaling, emotional control. You understand that the edge is not in complexity. It is in accurately repeating simple things. Losing traders search for the Holy Grail. Profitable traders sharpen the sword they have chosen, and they use it long enough to see the real results of consistency. Sign 9. You start measuring success by process, not money. There are months when you trade beautifully, follow discipline, stick to the plan, manage risk properly, but the monetary result is still negative. In the past, you would panic, doubt yourself, want to change systems. Now, you look at that month and say, this was a good trading month. Sounds paradoxical, but that is the mindset of someone who understands probabilities. You know that in the short term, results can deviate from execution quality, but in the long term, a good process will pull results upward. So each week you start asking, did I follow the system? Did I manage risk correctly? Did I maintain a stable psychological state? Instead of only asking, how much profit this week? And the strange thing is, when you stop obsessing over money, money starts coming more consistently. Not because you let go and the universe rewards you, but because you focused on what truly creates long-term profit, the quality of decisions repeated every day. Sign 10. You start to feel normal. This is probably the least talked about sign. When you were losing, trading was an emotional roller coaster. Excitement, panic, hope, despair, thrill, self-blame. Each day was a movie. But when you start trading better, something very boring happens. Trading becomes normal, not overly exciting, not overly scary, not occupying your mind all day. You do analysis, wait for setups, enter if conditions are met, journal, then return to life. Trading is no longer the emotional center of your world. It is just a part of your work system. And this normal feeling is actually the strongest sign of maturity. Because profitable traders do not live in market emotions. They live their lives and let the system work quietly in the background. If you find yourself less dramatic, less pulled into every candle, less needing trading to give you thrills, do not worry. Maybe you are not losing passion. Maybe you are getting very close to the stability you were always searching for. And that is the true foundation of a profitable trader. Sign 11. You stop seeing yourself as someone trying to make money and start seeing yourself as a risk manager. New traders enter the market with one question: how much can I make today? All decisions revolve around profit. They choose trades with the biggest potential gain. They increase size when confident. They try to maximize opportunity. It sounds reasonable, but this mindset quietly pushes them into danger because when profit is the center, risk is always underestimated. As you mature, a pivot happens. The question in your head becomes, if this trade is wrong, how much do I lose? If a losing streak happens, does the account survive? Is this risk worth taking? You start seeing trading like the job of a small fund manager, not a money hunter. You do not look for the best-looking trade. You look for the trade with the most acceptable risk. You do not think this trade can triple the account. You think, if this trade loses, I will still stay calm. And the paradox is, when you prioritize survival over fast money, you begin to stay in the game long enough for real money to accumulate. Losing traders focus on the next trade. Profitable traders focus on still being in the market 1,000 trades later. Sign 12. You no longer feel the need to participate in the market every day. Before, opening charts without placing a trade felt like missing something. You felt you had to do something to justify the time in front of the screen. You thought not trading meant wasted opportunity. But then you start understanding something only time can teach. The market does not pay for presence. The market only pays for correct decisions at the right time. And many days, the correct decision is to do nothing. You no longer feel pressured to be active. You can watch the market all session and not take a single trade and still feel fine. No restlessness, no self-blame, no FOMO. Because you understand that every trade you do not take without an edge is money you keep. Losing traders try to make money by trading a lot. Profitable traders make money by trading little but correctly. And to do that, you must be strong enough to tolerate the feeling of doing nothing. That is a very mature kind of discipline. Sign 13. You start realizing the market is not an enemy, nor a life-changing opportunity. When you first traded, you tended to personify the market. The market hunted my stop. The market is messing with me. The market is annoying today. Or the opposite. The market is a place that can change your life quickly. The escape from a job you hate. The hope to prove you are different. Both views are dangerous. Because when you see the market as an enemy, you trade with defense and fear. When you see the market as a savior, you trade with excessive expectation. As you mature, the market returns to its true nature, a neutral environment. It does not hate you. It does not love you. It owes you nothing. It has no mission to make you rich. It is simply a place where money flows, and you no longer fight it nor beg it. You just observe. Evaluate probabilities. Enter if there is an edge. Exit if wrong. No emotionalization. Neutrality in how you see the market leads to neutrality in how you react. And that neutrality is fertile ground for rational decisions to grow. Sign 14. You start respecting your own limits. There is a stage where traders think they must be tough, must handle pressure, must trade in all conditions, must make money no matter the market. But then you start realizing you have days when your mind is not clear, periods when personal life is messy, times when the market does not suit your style. And instead of forcing yourself to push through and trade, you learn to step back. You reduce size when performance is off. You take days off when psychology is noisy. You accept that sometimes staying out is the smartest choice. This is not weakness. This is self-awareness. Losing traders think strength is forcing themselves to continue. Profitable traders understand strength is knowing when to stop. Because you no longer try to prove you can handle it. You just make sure you are still here in the best state possible to trade when the edge returns. Sign 15. You start building a life outside of trading. When trading was a survival battle in your mind, it occupied all mental space. You thought about charts while eating, checked prices while hanging out. Your mood rose and fell with every market move. Life shrank around the screen. But as you stabilize, something very important happens. Trading steps back and life steps forward. You begin to have days without opening charts and still feel peaceful. You spend time on health, family, friends, other hobbies. And the strange thing is, when trading is no longer your whole world, you trade better. Because you no longer place your entire value, hope, and future into each trade. You no longer trade in a state of must win to survive. You trade in a state of, I already have a decent life. Trading is just one part of it. This mindset reduces invisible pressure you never noticed before. And when pressure drops, decisions become clearer, discipline becomes easier, psychology becomes more stable. A long-term profitable trader is often not the one most obsessed with the market. They are the one with a full life outside, so they do not need the market to fill inner voids. And at this point, if you look back at yourself, If you find yourself less dramatic, less FOMO, less needing to be right, less trading based on emotions, and more concerned with process, risk, and inner state, then maybe you have not seen explosive profits yet on your account. But you are building a foundation many people never even get the chance to touch, because becoming a profitable trader is not a jump. It is the process of slowly leaving behind your old self, impulsive, emotional, full of expectations, full of fear, to become someone calmer, more disciplined, more realistic. And when that person is stable enough, profit is no longer something you have to chase. It becomes the natural consequence of how you exist in the market. Sign 16. Your nervous system no longer jumps because of the market. When you first started trading, every sharp price spike felt like an electric shock running through your body. Your heart raced, your shoulders tightened, your eyes glued themselves to the screen. Your hand hovered, ready to add another trade or close too early. Your body reacted to the market as if it were facing real danger, because to the primitive brain, money equals survival. Losing money is interpreted as losing safety, so every move against you feels like a threat. But as you gradually become a profitable trader, something very clear happens. Your body reacts less. Price moves fast, you still breathe steadily. The trade is negative, you still sit upright, not leaning into the screen. Stop loss gets hit, you exhale, log it, and continue. Not because you are emotionless, but because your nervous system has learned this is not survival danger. This is just part of a probability game. This is a massive sign of maturity, because when your body is no longer stuck in fight or flight, your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic and discipline, can actually work properly. Losing traders often trade with a panicked nervous system. Profitable traders trade with a stable nervous system. And that stability does not come from reading more books. It comes from you living through enough ups and downs that your body stops treating the market like a threat. Sign 17. You no longer see the money in a trade as spending money. This is a very subtle change, but extremely deep. Before, when you entered a trade, you unconsciously imagined what the profit would do for your life. If this trade makes $500, I'll buy that thing. If I win this one, I'll cover last month. If this hits, I'll finally feel lighter. The money inside the trade was tied to emotion, needs, and life pressure. And because of that, every small fluctuation became heavy. But when you mature in trading, the money inside a trade starts losing its personal meaning. It is no longer money to buy stuff, no longer money to solve problems, no longer hope to rescue you from financial pressure. It becomes a risk unit inside a system. You look at -1R and +2R like statistical numbers, not personal opportunities or losses. This does not make you cold toward money in real life. It simply stops you from placing the weight of your whole life onto each trading decision. And when money in a trade no longer carries survival emotion, you become calm enough to cut losses where you should and hold winners long enough. Losing traders trade from need. Profitable traders trade from system. Sign 18. Your decision-making pace slows down but becomes more accurate. Before, you reacted fast. Price touches a zone, then you enter. You see a strong candle, then you jump in. News drops, then you instantly open a position. You thought speed meant skill, but the longer you stay, the more you realize your best decisions come from slowing down. You start pausing for one beat before entering. Is this signal according to the plan? Or am I getting pulled by price movement? Is this disguised FOMO? That tiny pause, just a few seconds of checking, saves you from many low-quality trades. A profitable trader is not the one with the fastest reflexes. They are the one who can create distance between stimulus and response. Price movement is the stimulus. Your action is the response. Between those two, you create a gap big enough for reason to step in. And that gap is where discipline is born. Sign 19. You no longer feel the market owes you anything. After a losing streak, new traders often think, the market has to give it back. I've been unlucky long enough, now it's my turn. I can't keep losing forever. That is the mindset of demanding fairness from a system that does not care about you at all. As you mature, that thought disappears. You understand. Each trade is independent. The market does not remember who you are. There is no concept of your turn to win. You no longer trade from revenge or entitlement. You only look at the current setup. Edge exists implies enter. No edge implies stay out. The past is not allowed to influence the size of the present trade. This is a huge leap forward because it cuts off the most dangerous emotional chain: loss to need to recover, to increase risk, to bigger loss. When you no longer believe the market owes you, you stop forcing it to pay. And when you stop forcing, you trade lighter and more effectively. Sign 20. You start seeing yourself as a survivor, not a hunter of opportunities. When you first traded, you thought your job was to catch opportunities. You hunted setups, hunted waves, hunted volatility. But then you realize the market does not reward the most aggressive hunter. It rewards the one who lasts the longest. You start seeing yourself as a long game player. The goal is no longer, this month I must double the account. It becomes, this year I am still here, with my system intact, my psychology stable. Survival thinking sounds humble, but it keeps you away from impulsive, destructive decisions. Losing traders think short-term. Profitable traders think in multi-year life cycles. And when you start viewing the trading journey like a long marathon, you stop sprinting every short segment. You hold pace, save energy, keep discipline. And that steady rhythm creates profits that impatient people can never hold. At some point, you look back at yourself from years ago, the person whose hands shook when entering trades, who couldn't sleep because of one loss, who went all in on a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, who let trading decide their mood all day, and you almost don't recognize that person anymore. Not because you found some holy indicator, but because you became a different human being, calmer, more disciplined, less dramatic, more realistic, more patient. And that is the deepest sign that you are becoming a profitable trader. Not because you always win, but because you no longer destroy yourself the way you used to. In the end, profit is not the reward for the person who predicts the market correctly the most. It is the reward for the person mature enough to stop being the biggest danger to their own account.